everything happened very fast for me. So
Right.
I think just having, me having had that support team in place meant that that transition, as much as it was very topsy-turvy and things were changing left, right, and center, that I had someone I could always go to. As much as it was still very challenging, I still had my meltdowns, I still had sensory issues. You're still going to have those things, but I think without that team, I would have struggled so, so much more. Like, obviously, I still struggle now, but because I've got the teams in place, I know that I can reach out to people if I need help.
I heard you mention meltdowns just then, and we're going to have a little bit in our training around meltdowns and how to support somebody through that. What would you want a professional to know? What does that look like for you?
So I guess for me, it's more just sort of when my anxiety levels got to a point where I can no longer contain my emotions, where my emotions sort of take over, whether or not that's, I just need 5 minutes, the noise is too much, to working out, I guess, ways that you can reduce the impact of those things, whether or not, like for me, that's, headphones, or my psych went through different ways that I could help myself sort of de-stress, whether or not that was to leave my son in his chair, he's safe, take 5 minutes, go to another room, just get your composure and then come back out. Or obviously have someone else look after the child for, 5 minutes, so you can sort of have that breather and sort of be able to sort of get yourself back into a more of a relaxed point, whether or not that was, even when I had my son, and I was in that sort of really heightened where I wouldn't be able to speak to someone, um, that I was able to sort of take him to my sensory room, sit in my sensory bag, and that was able to sort of calm me down enough that I could sort of help the situation without me going into a complete shutdown. Yeah, and like my psych and my OT were very much in the beginning of, we were working out what's working, what's not working, where do I need more help, where am I struggling, and we did that all through the first few weeks. Definitely after I came home, because obviously the hospital was very structured, which was great. But obviously when I came home, I was just lucky enough that we stayed on that same structure that we created in the hospital. So I guess the transition and from the hospital to home was a lot easier than probably most journeys, because we were already structured. And because I love structure, it was so much easier to just take that structure and bring it home with us. So that whiteboard that I showed you, that whiteboard stayed when we got home. So, and it was a very good thing because it also helped my partner, because he could see exactly what I was doing. If he was taking over, he could see exactly what I've done, where we're at in the schedule, and he was on board with doing the same thing. So it just meant that the structure stayed, and it was a lot easier for me to track what we'd done, and even to the point of medications. Like, oh, did we give him Nurofen today? What time did we give it to him? Just so you could make sure you're not, I guess you're managing the day as a team rather than individual.
Yes.
Like, talking about I guess the NICU experience, I was very lucky that my hospital has a boarding in program. So even though my son was in the nursery, um, as long as the hospital had availability at the hospital at the time, you could board in, which meant I stayed at the hospital. I had all meals provided. I didn't have to think about food. I mean, that's probably another thing. I wasn't too bad with the food they were serving, but there are probably some people who might not be able to eat the food. That's probably something as well, in relation to, I guess, food sensitivities and that sort of stuff. Like, I had brought in a lot of snacks anyway, that, comfort foods and stuff for me. I had a blanket that I brought in that was my, special blanket that I had on my bed every day.
Mhm.
But even to the nurses leaving my room exactly how I left it. So like I had certain things in certain spots. They never took the texture off me that I had for the whiteboard. Like, I was very lucky that the lactation consultant gave me access to this whiteboard, said use it, lay it out how you want to, and I was able to just sort of mark what the day was going to look like. So I could keep a visual track rather than a nurse coming and telling you, oh, it's time to do this, it's time to do this. I sort of had an idea of going into that day. Okay, I think from the photo that I supplied, there was a blood test and a weight check on there. So I was able to go, okay, Lucas is going to get a blood test today. He's going to get a weight today. So I sort of already knew that these things were going to happen. So and I could track, okay, when does he need a feed? Because he was on a feeding schedule. I was very easy to be able to go, okay, it's 1:30. He needs a bottle now. So I was able to just sort of keep track of that. So much easier than just going, okay, feed your child when he's ready. I'm not necessarily going to know when he's hungry. I don't know how to read facial cues. I don't know how to read emotions. He's crying. I don't know what he wants. And I guess a lot of new mums are in that situation. The baby's crying. Okay. You sort of go off that checklist of, okay, he's fed, he's changed. Okay, maybe he's got gas, maybe this, there's so many things that it could be. So a lot of people with autism like a plan and like to know what's going to happen before it happens. And this is something I need to know. Like, I can't leave the house without knowing what's going to happen. So I think going into the hospital experience and having things so sort of just shoved in your face, this is, having more of I guess, a more structured approach to someone who has autism or ADHD or any sort of disability, just finding out what works for them and then working with them along that route. Whether or not that's just giving them an idea of what's going to happen during that day. So like, I mean, for example, we had Lucas get transferred from one hospital to another. We got about a 2 hour notice that that was a possibility of happening. So they're like, look, this may happen, but we're hoping it doesn't. So then when it came time to that, when they made that decision, like, look, unfortunately, he's going to have to get moved. It wasn't such like, obviously it's a shock because you don't want that to happen. But I think because we sort of had the I guess, knowledge of this may happen, that it wasn't as big of a shock. And we would advise the whole way, like even from the ambulance team that took him, like they were like, okay, we're going to go to this hospital. You don't stress. You just take your time. You get there. We'll meet you there. This is what's going to happen when we get there. It's going to take some time for us to unload him and transfer him over. When we got to that hospital, we had this doctor on hand give us a rundown of what they were going to do. So I think just having, I guess, step-by-step knowledge as to what was happening made the journey, even though in that sort of environment, there's a lot of stress, there's a lot of anxiety, there's a lot of emotions going around. It just makes that one less thing you have to worry about. And
Professionals to
that's
hear.
even like when people like say to me, oh, you know, uh, you had a premature journey, yes, it sucked. Don't get me wrong. Everything about it sucked. But just having those, I guess, the structured way that I was introduced to parenthood, I actually take that as a benefit for me. Like, as much as some people might take that as a negative, it was a very much positive for me because I love routine, I love structure. So getting thrown into that, you've got a structure straight off the base that they've created for you. You know exactly what you're going to do. You have the nurses teach you how to do everything. So it wasn't sort of, here's your baby, good luck. It was, we were taught exactly how to change a nappy, how to dress the baby. So we sort of, I guess, mothered into motherhood really. So it was very, okay. And having the lactation consultant on board as well, they were very, very helpful with, okay, this is how you feed your baby this. Okay, is this working? Is this comfortable for you? Oh no, we can change it. Um, so, finding, I guess, allied health people who are on board completely and understand, or even have a basic understanding of someone who has special needs in any form, on how just a small impact can make a massive difference on their day. I mean, I keep going back to the fact that the lactation consultant gave me the text and said, write on the whiteboard. Like, looking back, you think, oh, they just gave you a whiteboard marker. It's like, yeah, but that whiteboard marker meant so much for that week that I was in hospital with my son.